tippylovesyou.com.
It's time to relax. It's time to find a quiet place. Close your eyes and drift away. It's time to derail the ego train and wander off into the eternal woods of no one. It's time to unravel. It's time for Tippy. Exercise 6. You find yourself on the deck of an old ship at night, far, far away from land. Far away from towns and cities, far away from the rolling fields and crowded roads, far away from all the people and all their problems and all their arguments and anxieties. Far away from all of it. It's just you here. You and the pinprick starlit night sky and this majestic ship, sailing on a steady ocean of Bible black with no land in sight. It's cloudy tonight, but you can still see some celestial bodies laid out like grains of sugar across the firmament. And you can still make out the line where the heavens meet the water. Take in a deep breath of that vital, salt-rich, fresh sea air as the ship lilts a few degrees down by the prow. Good. Let's stay here for a while, on deck, watching the sway of the horizon. Below decks, the crew are sequestered in bunks, and in the soft amber glow of lanterns, the surgeon is tending the captain and first mate. They were taken ill yestermorn of what at first looked to be scurvy, but now, it seems, was something more malignant. Last you heard, their lips had peeled back to show rotten gums, teeth loosed at the root and literally fallen to the floor, and all the while, great gammy blotches of gout climbing their limbs steadily in horrendous maps of black and brown. The fear among the crew spread faster and wilder than any disease might, of course, with talk of bad fortune, talk of a Jonah somewhere in the ranks, talk of God's wrath and sodomites and all kinds of nonsense. This sort of idle chatter is common amongst seafaring men, particularly out on the open water where life and limb lie wholly in the hands of fate, and if any deity should wish ill upon you, well then thereby are you damned. Along with this goes their stringent belief in the spectral and uncanny, and all tales of that ilk told with fervour and met with relish, rendering the toughest of brutes into cowering babes under bedsheets. A rough and tumble master-at-arms who, in his cups, might gouge a man's eye for the wrong look in a tavern, may become as a frightened puppy at the sight of a sour omen in the form of a dead gull on the poop deck. Perhaps this is why no one has come yet to relieve you of your watch. They were due some hours ago. Have the tales of curses and spells kept them meekly bedbound past their shift? It's probably time to go below decks and find out. But let's enjoy the saline song of the night air and the gentle lilting for a moment longer first. Looks like some gathering clouds in the northeast. The rest of the night may not be so tranquil. Down the hatch, the oil lamps light the passageway, their gentle swaying casting shifting shadows across the bulkhead. You immediately notice that something is awry. Even this far from the sleeping quarters, the gargling cacophony of 100 men's snores would normally be heard. Now, though, only the creaking and rolling of the ship's hull and the rhythmic clanging of something somewhere gently swinging and bumping against the wood. You take a lantern from its hook on the wall. The berth deck is empty. There are sheets on the floor and the hammocks, and not a body in sight, as if they had all been in an instant made invisible. The officers' quarters are similarly derelict. You knock on the door of the great cabin, and there is no reply. The door is locked. In the infirmary, there is blood dried on the table, but nothing unusual. There are no signs of struggle or trouble. In the cargo hold, the ship's stores are all intact, with a good 12-month supplies for the entire crew. You take stock of the ship from stern to bow, calling out all along the way, from the water hold through to the officers' mess. There is no one. You are entirely alone. Back out on the deck, a light rain is coming down now, and the ship pitches and rolls a little deeper. The longboat is still in place, as are the emergency provisions stored inside it. The only location on board that you have yet to access is the great cabin, where the captain takes his food and rest, and the adjoining navigation room. Perhaps some sole survivor still hides in there from whatever witch or spectre or sea monster has taken the others. With a pry bar from the rack in the carpenter's shop, you jimmy the door from the frame. At first just a crack, and then with a splintering rip, breaking a panel from the door. You reach through and slide the bolt and enter the empty room. No one is here. The captain's bed is still made up. In the navigation room, there is a large map on the table, with 3 glasses of brandy resting on top of it. In the center of the map is an object you don't recognize, an elaborate paperweight of some sort, but shimmering fantastically. It appears to be made out of an unusual kind of glass, at once clear as crystal, then at a turn as black as tar, and rainbow beams shining through it all the while. It has 7 sides on both the top and bottom, though the lower part is shorter than the top, with a flat edge which it rests on, pointing toward the stars. As you replace the crystalline item, you notice that the pencil-drawn map spread across the table is entirely unfamiliar to you. There is only one landmass, which covers part of the left side of the map and is marked only with a question mark. The numbers of latitude and longitude make no sense. The only text present seems to range over the entire vast body of water central to the map. In spaced out letters, the word is confinement. 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 There is scant detail. Not a single depth marker or channel route. No rocks or islands around that solitary line of foreign coast. The only other detail is the compass in the upper left corner, whose directional points trace across the draft at each angle. The center of the compass drawing bears an unusual insignia with a clear resemblance to the curious glass paperweight and its 7 angles. Your thoughts are shattered by a scream, blood-curdling and desperate, coming from somewhere above board. You scramble up the ladder and out onto the deck. The rain is a little harder now, and larger waves hit the hull with great booms and crashes. The scream comes again, weaker this time. It's someone in the water. Peering into that inky darkness, there is no light visible, nothing to be seen but the foam of the black waves. And then you see it. A flash of white, a hand, a face. There for a moment, buoyed by a wave, then gone, down again into the all-consuming darkness. You take the rope from the cleat behind you, fix it about your waist with a tight bowline, and then you are up to the handrail, looking out into that rain-filled blackness. Again, there is nothing to be seen through the falling rain but black waves cresting. And then, there, a pale glimmer surfaces for a split second. You throw the loose end of the rope in the direction of that light, and as it hits the water, you are immediately yanked over the rail, and you are tumbling through the midnight air. You try to gasp breath now, too late. You're crashing into the deep and unforgiving water, ice cold and pitch black. There is tension on the rope. Someone has the other end and is pulling you down rapidly with great power. You desperately try to undo the knot that keeps it fastened around your midriff, but your fingers are numbed and can't get purchase. Down and down and down you go, as if you're attached to an anchor, as if you're attached to a whale, and your lungs are straining now, only half a gasp of air. You feel the frenzied convulsions building up in your throat, in your chest, running through your entire body. You're fighting to keep your mouth closed, to keep that flood from overwhelming you, but you know entirely that it is too late. You surrender to the weight that pulls you, and you open your mouth. The salty taste of brine runs through you like light through glass, and the convulsions are finally put to rest. And yet still you continue downward, the sense of panic dissolved away, and you realize you don't need to breathe. Your lungs are no longer crying out for air. The desperate craving is vanished completely. And yet you're still awake and still sinking. You're free. Free to be still. Free from the incessant, interminable rhythm that you have known all your life. The continual in and out of air through your body. Free from that relentless demand for oxygen. Free to be motionless and mute as you continue to sink. Down and down and down into the pitch black abyss. Minutes pass, maybe hours. Time feels different when you're being dragged, unbreathing, into an infinite black void. It must be miles beneath the surface now, but there is no feeling of pressure, only an immense, divine calm like you have never known before. The pace of descent seems to have slowed, or maybe that's just relative. There isn't much to see down here. No fish, no weeds. Only the faint phosphorescent glow of tiny bubbles on your skin. But wait, there's something now. Far below, a little glint in the darkness. It's getting closer. A face? No, a skull. Far out of reach, but still clearly visible. As you come closer, you see that it's a human skull, but huge. A skull the size of a horse. As you pass it, you turn to watch it disappear into the blackness, but notice there is another further off, and another beyond that. They are all around you. You look down just in time to see one fly past, almost grazing you. It is vast. 10 men could fit inside. Most of the teeth are missing from its colossal grin. And as it spins by, you see there is a great hole in the back of it, cracked and jagged. and down you go. The skulls are all gone, and there is nothing. A new kind of calm has settled over you. The kind of calm that comes after a great exertion. A mountaintop calm. You can relax here. There is nothing to be done. Only to sink forever into the great yawning vortex. A spot of white in the tarry black beneath grows and blooms, and you see it is a colossal tower made of white stone bricks. Again, you see that similar constructions are passing by in all directions. Too far away to see clearly, but all of a similar size and build. The towers keep coming, and eventually there is one close enough that you can reach out as you pass it by and allow your hand to run along its rough surface. Curiously, the bricks that make up the structure aren't attached. They hang together with a fraction of an inch between each one, as if held by an invisible mortar. The plane of towers abates. You are once more in darkness and only darkness. It has been an age. Time has lost meaning. What was life before, above the surface? What was it to be dry? To be not sinking? Here there is no life and there is no death. Only descent. Only downwards. The moon and stars are barely remembered. An impossible dream of light and air. We're closer now to the old gods, on on the other end of the rope, out of reach for eternity. Good night.